Hey guys, how's it going? I wanted to try something a little different today. This is partly inspired by Radiator's Level With Me series. I thought it was very interesting how he went through, how he goes through games and he kind of comments on the level design. I used to do some level design and some modding on the Source engine, so I thought it would be interesting to go through Black Mesa and kind of comment on like the level design and certain things about how the engine works. I thought that'd be really interesting. So let's get started. So we're gonna start at the very beginning with the famous tram ride, Black Mesa inbound. So the Source engine is really interesting because it's kind of old by now. It's a little outdated with today's standards. But it is a brush-based engine, which means, so like a brush is just like a solid piece of geometry with, and it could have textures on it, it can be an invisible wall, but that is like the basic concept of a brush. So it's interesting with this type of level design, seeing how they design the levels and how they design the brushes and how they accompanied it with models.
And welcome to the Black Mesa Transit System. This automated train is provided for the security and convenience of the Black Mesa Research.
So the interesting thing about this train, at least in the context of the Source engine, oh, there's Barney. In the context of the Source engine, this is actually like, there's actually points, like invisible points on this rail, and the train basically moves along these points in a 3D space. So it's a little interesting how it works. That's also how they do elevators in the Source engine. They have like these invisible node points, they call them, and it kind of travels along the track with the speed you want it to. I think this is a weird place to have a load point, but I guess they were kind of trying to be consistent with the map structure in the original Half-Life. So I guess that's a little interesting. I personally thought that the tram section was a little boring. Like it's a little more interesting with the Black Mesa version because of like the updated graphics and everything, and the nice music to accompany it. I didn't really think it was good storytelling though. People will probably disagree with me, but that's just my opinion on it.
Area 9 and board a high security train.
I like those lights coming through the window up there.
You must report to Black Mesa personnel
In episode 2, and even like Half-Life 2, they have these like models that you can just walk through. But it's like an actual like beam of light. It's really interesting.
Due to the high toxicity of material routinely handled in the Black Mesa compound, no smoking, eating, or drinking are permitted within the Black Mesa Transit System.
So I think it's interesting how kind of open these maps are. I don't remember if they were this open in the opening of the original.
Please keep your limbs inside the train at all times.
So I think that's interesting.
Do not attempt to open the doors until
They have a lot of
the train
extra
comes
stuff
to
in the
a
intro,
complete
like
halt at the
I don't even
station
think this
platform.
elevator was here in the original.
In the
So they
event
really
of
went all out
emergency,
to kind of like detail it
passengers are to remain
and make it
seated
nice.
and await further instruction. If it is necessary to exit the train, disabled personnel should be evacuated first. Please stay away from electrified rails.
I think that dust is really interesting too, because I think it was either episode 2 or episode 1 introduced particle systems, So you could literally like script out these different particles that interact in different ways, which is really cool because you couldn't do that before. I think it's interesting too how to kind of swap between like the floor rail and like a ceiling rail. So it adds like an interesting variation to it. And we have like a nice kind of rounded tunnel thing here, which gives it like a really nice feel. It's a lot more detailed than like a, just like a floor and walls.
A reminder that the Black Mesa Hazard Course Decathlon will commence this evening at
Now there's something interesting that text just appeared on the screen. You actually have to like script that, because I remember trying to do it and it was like more harder than it should have been. Like it got to the point where I couldn't even get it to work properly because it was coming out really big for some reason. So something as simple as text.
Do you have a friend or relative who would make a valuable addition to the Black Mesa team? Immediate openings are available in the areas of materials handling and low clearance security. Please contact Black Mesa personnel for further information. If you have an associate with a background in the areas of theoretical physics, biotechnology, or other high-tech disciplines, please contact.
So I think one of the main points of this tram ride is to kind of give you like scope of how big the facility actually is before you actually like start the game. So I think that's interesting. And then we have like just these like random people kind of walking around, and it kind of gives it some like interesting details and depth, I think.
A reminder to all Black Mesa personnel: regular radiation and biohazard screenings are a requirement of continued employment in the Black Mesa Research Facility. Missing a scheduled urinalysis or radiation checkup is grounds for immediate termination. If you feel you have been exposed to radioactive or other hazardous materials in the course of your duties...
Now we'll notice that this particular room isn't like too detailed compared to other rooms. Especially in like the tram ride, because we're only going to see this for like maybe like 20 or 30 seconds. And we're probably going to be focused on like the stuff that's animating. So there's really not that much need to put a lot of detail there, because we're going to be focusing on like the robot and like the green goo thing.
The automated door and wait for the security officer to verify your identity. Before exiting the train, be sure to check your area for personal belongings. Thank you, and have a very safe and productive day.
So here's where we actually like start the game, I guess, with anomalous materials. And there's a lot of interesting like side details in this chapter that I think are really interesting.
Looks like you're running late.
So even like just this room is like, it has a great amount of detail. Like we have like these supports that kind of go off the side of this platform, and we have like these nice like kind of metal rope things kind of holding it up. So those are like nice details as well. And I also like how like open this particular room is, because you know, it just kind of fades to black, so it kind of makes it seem like it's like this really like almost endless kind of height room. So I'm gonna turn on cheats real quick. So if we actually look at this room full bright, we can see that this room isn't actually like too big. And we could also see like these interesting details like along the side of the supports that we couldn't really see when we had the lighting on. So for those who don't know, like matte full bright, if you set it to 1, it renders the world as if it didn't have any lighting in it. So this is what it would look like if there were no actual lighting in it. It just defaults everything to like 100% or whatever. So that's interesting too. I think that pipe is kind of is just kind of like, you know, you wouldn't even really see that because it's kind of like in a dark area of the map.
Put some pep in that step, Freeman. You're late enough as it is. Why you even bother putting in extra hours down at the hazard course? Like you'll ever do more than flip a switch or push a button around here.
They really went like all out with this animation too, like this blast door. Like it actually has like these metal rods that kind of like come out and then it opens. And there's also, it's kind of hard to see, but there's like a little delay, like it kind of goes up a little bit and then it goes up all the way. So that's a nice like kind of realistic detail, because I'm sure like an actual blast door in real life would look like that. And I know this guy mentioned something about a ponytail, and I think that's like a nod to the original Half-Life, because I think the original like Freeman model, which I think there actually was one in Half-Life 1, if you went into third-person mode, stop talking. If you went into like third-person mode, I think he actually like had a ponytail or something like that, something with the original, some kind of nod to that. And another thing that's interesting are these like camera screens. Like these are actual like cameras, like invisible cameras in the world, and that's actually like a technically live feed of this level. So that's an interesting detail that not that I've seen that not many games do. They just kind of have like a static picture on there. So it's not really that interesting.
Hey, Mr. Freeman. I had a bunch of messages for you, but we had a system crash about, I don't know, 20 minutes ago, and I'm still trying to find my files. Just one of those days, I guess. They were also having some problems down in the test chamber, too, but I think that's all straightened out. They told me to make sure you headed down there as soon as you got into your hazard suit.
So I think they did a pretty good job preserving like the whole atmosphere of like the original starting room. Like they have like this kind of weird like monitor hub, which logically it doesn't make that much sense, because you kind of have like this like computer screen that looks like some kind of email. Like there's no reason to have that there, but that was in the original, and they, you know, carried it over and made it look nice. And I think they still have like the alarm thing. Like there's like this like Easter egg thing where if you press the alarm then something happens. So I think we have that here.
Hey, it's happening!
Cut it out!
What the hell is going on up there?
My horoscope was correct.
Did someone pull this fire alarm or something?
Come on, Gordon. What are you trying to do? Get me into trouble?
Bartok, come in.
Yeah, I'm here.
What the hell's going on up there?
We had a little accident up here, sorry.
Yeah, well, that better be the last accident you have today. Understood?
Copy.
Yeah, so we got like a lot of like interesting moments that had been carried over from the original. So it's like a really nice like nod to those like memorable moments from the first one.
Gordon?
And I really like the attention to detail like on these walls. Like we kind of have like this color coding and icon thing going on. And like if you can actually like follow like these paintings on the wall.
Good morning, Dr. Freeman.
So for example, research, if you follow that one, it will take you to like the research sector or whatever.
GPS reports have gotten progressively worse. Hard to find good help these days. Yes, about that. We're going to need you to come in this weekend. What? I've already made plans. Oh, don't worry. You can always attend the next convention.
So I think one of the things they were trying to do with this chapter in particular, because this is like the chapter before everything like kind of blows up and everything, is they kind of give like the scientists like their own kind of like personalities, and you get kind of like backstories as to like what they do and how they're kind of feeling. So I think that adds like a lot of depth to it. And so when everything like kind of like blows up and everything, it feels a lot more emotional because you have like that slight emotional attachment because you're kind of looking into their like backstories and that kind of thing.
Good morning, Gordon.
Yep. There's a pepperoni pizza in my near future.
Oh, and something interesting is we also have this G-Man encounter here. And what's interesting is they have like a specific sound. Like, see like the subtitles say imperceivable garbling, inaudible muttering. And I believe if we actually like no clip into it, we still can't hear it. So it's literally like a deliberate decision that you can't hear them. But it kind of goes against the game logic. Because if you go in here, and I think this triggers them to talk.
You forgot to carry the 2, or was it the 3?
You can hear like these people through the glass, so it kind of breaks the game logic.
Got the wrong airlock, Mr. Freeman. You know I can't let you through here.
Now it's interesting that we have like
Hopefully
this
things
kind of
will
like
die down over soon.
inaccessible door, but we can kind of see like another part of the facility that we can't access yet. So that kind of makes it adds like a lot of
Been a
like
lot of seats
detail
coming and going. Probably you
because it makes the complex kind of seem like bigger than it actually is. And then we even have like NPCs kind of walking back and forth to really kind of sell it to us. But if we actually go in here, we just kind of see that it's literally just a room full of people and they're just walking back and forth. So we also have a lot of interesting detail here, like especially on like the whiteboards, like we have like these like math formulas, like chemical symbols, and it really kind of makes it feel like it's an actual like research, like scientific research facility. Even though nobody probably knows what this means, or it could literally just be random gibberish on the board, it still adds a lot of interesting detail. And there's an interesting thing here because like this wall is actually broken into, I would assume, like 2 parts. But it's using the same texture, but they kind of offset it a little bit so it doesn't look like exactly the same, so it doesn't look tiled. So that's a nice attention to detail there.
Can you access the mail server?
You're living in the past. That experiment government is single-handedly responsible for inspiring my career in science.
Yeah, and then we have like more kind of getting like an insight into like these scientists and what they're thinking and like kind of their like personal lives, so we kind of get, I would guess, a like slight emotional attachment to them, because in a sense it feels like we know them to a certain extent.
Combined with today's technology, I've recreated. I can't stand to hear another word of this malarkey.
Don't mind him. But here's something to think about for the next time.
Morning, champ.
Hello?
So they also kept the detail where you can like blow up the casserole thing.
How is the debugging procedure coming along?
Good heavens! What the hell? You think you can fix the vending machine too, college boy?
We will never hear the end of this.
Yeah, you best make like an atom and split. Cause that was you know whose lunch.
There's also another interesting detail here where if like you keep bugging him, he'll keep making
You
jokes.
better make like a busboy and get the fork out of here. You better make like traffic and jam. You better make like a nut and bolt.
So I thought that was a funny
You
little
better
detail.
make like a prom dress and take off.
And here we have kind of like, I would guess like a small break room, and this kind of really sells it because we have like a nice like kind of like industrial looking refrigerator here, a microwave, vending machines, you know, a cork board,
Don't worry, I'll cover for you. But
and
I
even
don't
some
think you're
like
gonna believe me.
legal signs. Like this is what we would actually see in like an actual like break room. So it really feels like that we're like actually like in a break room, which is nice. And then we have like a subtle like chains of lighting. Like this is more like bright and kind of like whitish bluish color, and then this is kind of like a brownish color. So we're, in a sense we're almost like drawn into this room because of like the difference in lighting, and you know this room's a little more like brighter and more apparent.
Why do we all have to wear these ridiculous ties?
So we also have like the Freeman locker like in the original, which is nice continuity, and this oversized lighter thing. I can't really tell what that is. Oh, it's polish. It's polish. It's not a lighter.
Rat. No toilet paper.
So something else that's interesting is we also got like these like fake brand names. Like for example, like these toilet things, we have like doll systems, and then like later in the game they have like these monitors that are like, instead of Sony it's phony, F-O-N-Y. And that's just like an interesting detail because it makes it feel more realistic that like they contacted this company when the Black Mesa facility was being built.
Don't panic, Harold. Don't panic.
Give the guy the toilet paper.
Oh, thank heavens.
And an interesting detail here is they actually like implemented like some kind of like distortion effect. So it might be hard to see on the video, but there's actually like a ripple like in the view to kind of sell the idea that it's actually like kind of blowing out hot air. And now we have like this, like the famous like scene where we finally get into the HEV suit and we can like shift. And I think it's really cool how they have like these like this text on the screen. So kind of like what you see when like a computer is booting up, like this like information kind of running across the screen. So we got like a really nice like startup animation for this. It's really cool. And then we got some like nice energetic music in the background. So then we kind of get excited, you know, we're in an HEV suit, we got this music going, and we're just ready to, you know, jump into action. And something else is that we actually have this, I disabled it, but there's like this view roll effect. I don't like it. So basically what it does is when you strafe, it like tilts your screen, and I really don't like that. So I have it set all the way to 0.
Looks like you're in the barrel today.
Hello, Dr. Freeman.
I always thought this sign was interesting, even in the original, because it has like this nice like transition effect, and it just looks cool. I like it. So it's nice to see that carried over from the original. So like I was saying earlier, like in these elevators, it's actually like points in the world, and it moves along those points, and you give it like a speed and everything. So basically when we press the button, it tells the elevator to start moving along those points. And I think this is a weird detail. I don't know why I have this in here, but you can go down here even though there's nothing in here. So I think that's a little weird, because there's no actual floor here like that you can go to, that the elevator can go to. So I'm not sure what I have that there. Unless like actual elevators have like a gap under it, but I don't know.
I'm not one for idle chatter, Gordon.
So we got like these nice this nice laser effect.
Energy to ensure residence control.
It's like, you know, now that it's like in like the source engine and everything, we can kind of go all out and crazy with the effects.
The acousto-optic modulators are on the fridge.
What's up, Doc?
So I really like the design of this room. Although they could have done a better job aligning these textures. I think that's a little bit sloppy, but
Max, things could be much, much worse.
when we walk in, we kind of have like this kind of bump thing that in the wall that kind of guides us here. But I think it also encourages us to kind of look like towards this like machinery and just kind of take in the detail. And that's a nice bubble effect they have too. I wonder what this purple stripe is for, because it doesn't, it's only on like this wall, so it doesn't look like it really links to anything.
Ah, Gordon, there you are. Nice of you to finally join
So
us,
some nice
Doctor.
continuity that we
We've
have
just
here
sent
is
the
that
sample down to the test
they
chamber.
took the time to figure out where like
Like
Dr. Kleiner and like Eli are in like the original
The
game,
administrator is
and they
very
actually put him
concerned
in
that you
here,
get
and
conclusive
it's really
analysis of today's
interesting.
sample. I gather he went to some lengths to get
So it's like we can kind of see them in action
waiting
before
for you,
everything
Gordon.
kind of hit the fan.
In the test chamber.
Right. Come on then. I'll walk you down.
And then we even have this weird guy with like the chamber, like that weird drawn out chamber.
Making last-minute preparations for the new experiment.
So just real quick, with this monitor, it looks like they actually like wireframed the chamber and took a picture of it. Cause if we actually like turn on the wireframe and we look at it, it's really detailed obviously.
Testing. Testing.
We can see all these nice details in here.
Everything seems to be in order.
And I think I broke the game because I triggered the...
There you are. Nice of you to finally join us, Doctor.
So we have to watch this scene again, but it's okay.
Most of the
Looks like we
anti-mass
broke the game there.
spectrometer 205%. Bit of a gamble, but we needed the extra resolution.
I think that is an actual in-game camera. I think. It's a little hard to tell.
They're waiting for you.
Actually, I don't think it is. It might just be a
The
static
test
image.
chamber. Right. Come on then.
It's a shame.
I'll walk you down.
They could have put like an actual camera here to add like a little more detail, but nobody's really going to pay attention to that, so it's
Eli
okay.
has been busy making last-minute preparations for the new experiment.
I think it's cool they actually labeled this like S1 emitters, S2 emitters, and it kind of gives it like a context when they say that like while you're in the chamber. So it's like, oh, that's an actual thing in the world.
Greetings, Eli.
Morning, Izzy.
I trust this morning.
And then we have this nice continuity with Eli actually being here.
Good morning. I'm glad you're here. These last-minute changes, they're a bit strange to just... Oh! It's about to go critical.
What in the blazes is going on with our equipment?
It was never meant to do this in the first place.
It's nothing we can't handle ourselves, Eli. Run along, Gordon. We'll be but a moment.
It's kind of hard to see, but if you get like a front look at Eli, you can see there's like a small like error in his model. You can actually like kind of see through him. So it looks like a small oversight by the person who modeled him.
This could take a bit longer than I anticipated.
So here we have like these nice like beams, because in the original game we didn't have like this level over level thing. We just had like a solid wall there. So it's cool to see that they open this up and you can like see this part of the level from up there. So it makes the level a lot more interesting. And then we have like this like beam thing which connects to those like chambers up there. So that's like some nice continuity. And then we also have like this nice like glow effect, which is a little hard to see, but it's very subtle. But it's like a nice glow outward.
You know, this is far from the glory I had envisioned as an undergrad.
And then over here we have like kind of more like explanation, like kind of what like these scientists are thinking, how they're feeling, and it kind of like I said earlier, it kind of gives an interesting dynamic because we're actually like seeing what they feel. So then when we come out here and they're all like dead and everything, we feel a little sad because we had, you know, a slight connection to them.
Kid yourself. You wouldn't know what to do with free time if you even had any.
Yeah, so you can really see this glow effect here. It's just this nice beam glow. I think it looks really cool.
Oh, there you are. Everybody's been looking for you, hombre.
So this is interesting. It looks like instead of like cameras, they
Time for cold
decided
feet, Chief. Step right up.
to just use static images, but nobody's really gonna pay attention to that. So it's still a nice detail anyway.
Ah, here he is.
I'm afraid we'll be deviating a bit from standard analysis procedure today, Gordon.
Yes, but with good reason.
I
This
know
is
they
a
had
rare
like a very
opportunity
high
for us.
bar
This is
for
the purest sample
voice
we've
acting and all
seen
that.
yet.
And potentially
In my
the
like
most
opinion, I think
unstable.
Now,
it
as long
sounds
as
like
we
a little
follow
too
standard
perfect.
insertion procedures, everything will be fine.
Like it kind of
Don't
sounds a
know
little
how to
robotic
say
to
that.
me, but that's
Although
just
I
my
will admit
opinion.
that the possibility of a resonance cascade scenario is
Like it's not
extremely
bad voice
unlikely.
acting, I just think it's a little
just
too
don't feel
Gordon doesn't need to hear all this.
like a little too
Highly trained professional.
robotic
We
in
will
a
assure
sense.
the administrator that nothing will go wrong.
Yes, you're right. Gordon, we have complete confidence in you.
I wonder why this tile is here,
Well,
because
go ahead.
they have like this little like
Let's zoom in
hatch
now.
texture. So it seems a little odd that they would have this here. I don't know, that's weird. I really like the detail on this door too. Like they kind of like extruded like the grippy thingies. I don't know what they're called. The things with the stripes on it. So that's a cool detail. Like that's what an actual like blast door would probably look like, with those like extrusions on the bottom and
Are you
top of the
waiting
doors.
for something, Gordon?
He's just savoring the moment.
Testing. Testing.
So here we have like the famous chamber in the first
Everything
game,
seems to be in order.
and they did a really good job recreating this. Like there's a lot of detail here. Like they have like these nice dips in the wall.
The specimen will be delivered
Like the
to you
original
in a
had
few moments.
like the texture had that dip in it, but like the actual brushwork didn't. So it's nice to see that they actually did that, because it's a really nice detail. And they have like these kind of like bumps on the floor and these gratings that have like pipes running under it. And they even have like an outlet here. So you can tell they really like took their time to really add a lot of detail into this. And like there's cables.
Please.
And it looks like they're yelling at me, so we'll go enable that. And I think this is cool too. Like that's an actual live camera
Not hearing
feed.
me? Climb up and start the rotors, please.
So we got like all of these effects going on, like steam coming out,
Very good. We'll take it
and
from
it just
here.
looks cool.
Power to stage 1 emitters in 3, 2, 1. I'm seeing predictable phase arrays.
So it's really nice. They like really nicely light up the room, and
Stage 2 emitters.
we can just see like every single detail in here.
Gordon, we cannot predict how long the system can operate.
And there's like a
at this
nice
level.
shake effect on the screen to really sell the idea that we're operating this massive machine.
Overhead capacitors to 105%. It's probably not a problem. Probably. But I'm showing a small discrepancy in... Well, no. It's well within acceptable bounds again. Sustaining sequence.
We've just been informed that the sample is ready, Gordon. It should be coming up to you at any moment. Look to the delivery system for your specimen.
So I just want to take a second to look at how like tall this room is. Like it's nice and tall, and like the first half of it has like all this detail, and then the second half just kind of is like a raised up wall and doesn't have nearly as much detail,
The carrier into the
but
analysis port.
it gives us like a sense of scale.
It's not shutting down!
So they had like a lot of interesting effects going on there, and like a subtle detail that you probably won't notice is that like a beam actually comes from the center of the room, and it doesn't matter where you are, it'll still like come towards you, and it's like, you know, teleporting you. So I think that's a cool detail, that like the beam literally comes wherever you are in the room. So that's cool. So we're on unforeseen consequences now, so I think I'll stop it here, and we'll continue in the next one. Thank you very much for watching. If you like this content, feel free to subscribe. Feel free to leave comments about what you think. Be sure to give it a thumbs up, and we'll see you in the next one.